Hello, Renee Flamont here. This topic to me today is very, very, very crucial. It is something that we all feel. You feel ashamed from putting up with them. You feel embarrassed for having tolerated it. You're kicking yourself for being a lunatic, for you behaving off the handle, flying off the handle, for you behaving in a way that you never thought you would. You kick yourself because you begged, pleaded, and screamed and cried and hoped and wanted to work it out. There's all these things, and they're all associated with why we kick ourselves later. Now, there are some of you going through this right now. I read every single comment. I think some just don't make it. I don't know why that is. Because some show up like a month, I'll see it, and it'll say 4 weeks ago. So I don't know. To me, that means they don't make it, some of them. And maybe then they're allowed to be pushed through. I don't know. We don't say anything bad on this channel. I have no idea how that is. But every day I go in and I try to respond. And there are more than one of us, I say, because we've all been there, where you just feel shameful. And you just kick yourself. And, oh, I was duped again. And, oh, my God. And why did I do that? Okay, listen. Whoa. We need to stop. There's a gazillion reasons why. You know I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you what I did to help that stop short for me. Stopped it short. Turned a corner. Left that back. No. You're not carrying that shame forward. You're not kicking yourself. And you know, it's natural to feel that way. But shake it off. And let me explain, okay? There is, and the reason it's so vital, it's so crucial to me, is this is where some people really get despondent. And they turn to self-medicating, be it, I don't know, I don't take any prescription medication, but I know that people go and they get things, and I have friends, they're on things, I read all about things, right? So now what? You're gonna go get a prescription for something? Like one of those medicines, Wellbutrin or Paxil or Xanax, there's a million of them. I hear them all the time. Like I said, I don't take any prescription medication, but people are on it, they're everywhere. So are you going to self-medicate? You're going to ask your doctor, I'm so despondent. Of course they're going to help you if you really are despondent. Or are you going to self-medicate with too much alcohol or too much sleep or not enough sleep? We're going to torture ourselves because we feel bad, so you're not going to eat, or you're going to eat too much. Or we go through all kinds of self-medicating behavior. That can lead to a lot of harm. And I'm going to be honest with you too. It kills me. Some people get to the point of contemplating harming themselves. Isolation does not help that. They can't turn to anybody because they can't believe what happened, and they don't want to relive the shame, and they don't want to let somebody else know the shame they're feeling, so you don't even want to tell anyone the details because you're embarrassed and you don't want to admit to yourself, let alone somebody else, that if you say the story out loud, it sounds ridiculous. You're like, oh my God, I stayed with him? How am I going to get... Stop everything. Here's the thing. I talk a lot about perspective. And that's because I've learned we can't change things that have happened in our lives, be it with the narcissist or anything else. You can't change something that happened, but we can change how we look at them, the thing that happened. We can change what we got from it, what we see in the happening of it, what we take from it, how we process it, and then how we proceed is a big make or break. It kills me to think that somebody may get to the point that they are so despondent that they could self-harm. What helped me, I began it kills me. You lost me for a second because I just think of that and my heart breaks. My heart breaks, right? And you know, when I was younger, and I would hear about that, because we've all known someone in our lives. I hope you don't, but I have. And this person, you know, somebody, I don't even want to say the phrase out loud, but makes the permanent decision to a temporary problem, and they're no longer on the earth. I often wondered, even when I was younger, because it's just not a thought I've ever even come close to, I often wondered, especially if it was something dramatic like that in a novel over something like love. I remember thinking, even young, but they're not even here on the earth anymore to see if the person that they killed themselves over cares. So that made no sense. It made no sense to me. And I don't minimalize it. That's not what I'm saying. It made no sense to me because I guess there was something that past which I just never clicked over into that lane. I've known people that have done it, and I've known people that have thought about it. And I just never once, as dramatic as I get, I think it's God, I think it's the universe, it's my belief system, I don't know. I never clicked over into that lane, but people do. And this kind of stuff does not help. You take someone that's already, I mentioned this before, teetering on all aspects of their life, and then they go through this, and they're left with feeling this shame, and now you want them to go forth and deal with that. Okay, I'm going to get to what I did. This is what I did, all right? So now you know where my mind is, and I think of it all the time because I read, like I said, any comment that I see, I read, and some of you get very, very like, I can't believe I did this again. I'm kicking myself, and da ba 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 ba. Here's the thing. I began looking at the treatment that I received as just that. I was the receiver of the treatment. Okay? I couldn't have controlled what they did, and as far as with me putting up with it or behaving myself as I did maniacally, that was because circumstances beyond my control were at work. Right now you're saying about the shame you feel, about you kicking yourself. But I stayed. I fell for it. I tolerated it. I know, and I know. Yes, this is true. However, listen, please. You were ensnared. I stopped feeling so shameful once I came to understand how the cycle unfolds in the beginning with the love bombing, how that happens, and then how I was already hooked by the time I realized things were unhealthy and awry and I should go, and this isn't worthy of me. This behavior is beneath anything I should accept for myself. You should leave. I was already hooked. We talked a lot about this before. The addictions, some of them are chemical that they provide. Not just they're making you feel good. There's reasons for that. We talked about it before, the dopamine, the endorphins, the adrenaline, the cortisol. Okay? We've talked about it several times. These addictions are already in motion when you get to the point that you finally realize they're no good. They were in me. I fully admit it. Yeah, they make you feel euphoria. That's the dopamine and the endorphins. You know, and if you're an addict already, think of an addict. Like I just watched the show Dope Sick. If you're an addict already, who intellectually knows pain pills taken the way you're taking them is not proper, it doesn't mean you can stop cold. So you're in it. You know they're doing something to you that's not proper. You feel it. You recognize it. You know you should stop seeing them. Right? You know you should, but you just can't. And you might say, well, that's not the same. I understand that OxyContin is a bigger addiction than the narcissist addiction chemical-wise that they give off. But what I'm trying to tell you is your mind wasn't completely your own. It was being controlled by that narcissist at that point in many, many ways. In many ways. And you were addicted to those things. And you were trauma bonded to them, which is more powerful, they say, than love. And it's very hard to break that. So, but having watched Dope Sick and having that on my mind, and again, I'm not comparing the addictions, okay? Oxy is obviously heavier than the chemicals aforementioned. with the narcissist, but the idea is the same. You know it's bad, but you don't stop. The idea is the same. Well, the addicts couldn't really beat themselves up when Oxy was created and pushed upon them in the way that it was. You have to see this series. It's very educational. And if you're someone who's generally judgmental about addicts in that way, your mind could be changed when you see they show you how manipulative the rollout of the drug was. And Big Pharma was calculated when they were manipulating you, and they got in. Well, the narcissist was manipulative and calculating and got in. Somebody was coming at you to get in. They came at you. You didn't fall in love and they changed and now you're having problems. The narcissist came at you like Big Pharma to manipulate you, to guide the relationship to be exactly what they wanted. And when they commit the infractions, that's because that's what they want at the time. They want to control the whole, what's that? Like on a sailboat, the udder, the rudder? Udder. You know what I mean. They want to direct the ship. And they've been manipulating and calculating every single move. Well, how can you be expected to then rise and shine like a bright flower and be all elegant and graceful every second and know what to do minute to minute and make all the right choices? Our minds were flipped around. We were in love. We were being, people were being bad to us. We were in love, and then he was being bad to us, and our minds are all flipped around. Because then they get back good to us, and then we see that side of them. They know what they're doing. Once I realized all that by the time I realized he was bad, I was already in it. And that once I realized that, and once I was already in it, I realized also, I thought about it, that's when it translated into you're hanging in there, you're trying to make it work, you're fixing what is broken. Of course you are. You were in euphoria 10 minutes ago. Think of how that flipped your brain around. That's not your fault. That's no one's fault except theirs, because they calculated it. And then you realize before you know it, you're staying to fix what's broken, try to make it work, see what's going on, and now you're kicking yourself. You were hooked in. Whether it was a hole in your self-love that allowed them to get in, or your addiction to feeling the euphoria he caused, or your addiction to feeling the horror they caused, which I've explained that too, that could be a thing, or whether it was all of the above. You held on because you were manipulated by someone who preyed upon you, calculated their every move to ensnare you. How can you kick yourself? Or feel bad about yourself? How? This is what I went through with myself. And I eased up because I realized I shouldn't feel bad about myself. And it's not about I'm not to blame for this. That's not what it's about, because I'll take blame if I do something. It's not about I don't want to take blame for this. It's about I'm not going to continue to think this negative thing about myself when I had nothing to do with it being done to me. It's very distinct. It's not I'm refusing to take blame and it's all his fault. That's not the words that I'm feeling. I'm feeling I wasn't going to allow him to have one more ounce of power in making me feel badly about myself. Not for another second. And that shame is a big thing that you're left with. The kicking yourself is just another thing with which we must deal. That we are left to deal with the narcissist. Turn it around. Why do they get to have a say on how you see yourself and they're not even any longer here? No. No way on earth. They did enough devaluing while you were with them. They get to do it now, because essentially that's what you're doing. You don't realize it, but you're allowing them to control your narrative of yourself. Once I realized that, I snapped right out of it. Because I told myself his control ended right then. As soon as I realized it, I was taking charge, and my mind told myself that it was beyond my control at the time, and I was duped into something, and that I'm certainly okay as a human still, and it doesn't mean I am weak. I was with him, sure, I guess, to allow those things, but guess what? I'm not now. I'm not anymore. And I didn't have to remain in a state of self-regret and self-loathing because I'm kicking myself for doing these things. No, they don't get that. You look yourself in the mirror and you hold yourself high. If you hung in there, you were trying to work through something. Look at the positives of you hanging in there. That showed you had resilience. But it also showed I was weak. It showed I was, yep, okay, fine, whatever. It showed. That doesn't mean you have to be that person now. That does not mean you have to be that person now. I just realized she hasn't moved the whole video, I don't think, has she? I feel like once you realize that they don't, because I don't want him to have control of my mind. And when I realized in the relationship that he had control of my mind, I got mad enough already. But once he was out of my life and I found myself kicking myself or feeling shameful or having tolerated it, I was like, oh, no, no, no. That's him. Things connected to him are making me feel that way, which in my mind meant he was controlling how I was seeing myself. He doesn't get to do that. And don't adapt anybody's opinion about you from them, not for nothing, unless it's positive. Because if you're anything like me, I do enough self-reflection. I have a long list of flaws. I pretty much know what they are, and I guarantee you nobody's going to beat themselves up more than I already do. Right? My mother said I was that kind of kid. If I got a grade that I didn't love, she wasn't going to say anything to me. She thought I was phenomenal. I would beat myself up. Worse than anybody else. So I know my flaws. This is not going to be something negative that I needed to carry. Something connected to him? No. Know your flaws, stay humble, but I'm a fabulous person, and I'm not going to allow him to make me feel lesser than because I'm kicking myself because of what he put me through. No. And you know what I just remembered? Please, because I forgot the last couple of videos. If you like this video, I know I got off on a rant there because it makes me mad that they have control over our mind. If you like this video, please hit like. And please subscribe if you're watching. I'd love to see our numbers get up. That means people are seeing this information. I don't want you feeling despondent. I don't. It is not worth that. No, nothing is worth that. And letting them thinking that if they see you so despondent, it's going to like work on their mind. Nothing. It doesn't mean a thing to them. They've already moved on. If you're halfway moved on, then they've been moved on longer than that. So they've moved on in their brain already. Even if they're trying to come around and make a mess of your life, they're already doing theirs. So you move on and do not feel that shame. You shake it off immediately. Immédiatement. Yes?